the December Historic Preservation Commission meeting. It's Wednesday, December 6th, 6 p.m. at the town of Bluffton. Can we get a roll call?
Chairman Adam Goodwin.
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Carletha Frazier.
Here.
Commissioner Joe DePaul.
Here.
Commissioner Will Gunther. Commissioner Jim Hess.
Here.
Commissioner Carrie Schmelter.
Here.
Commissioner Debbie Wonder.
Here.
All right. Notice regarding adjournment. The Historic Preservation Commission will not hear new items after 9:30 p.m. unless authorized by a majority vote of the commission members present. Items which have not been heard before 9:30 p.m. may be continued to the next regular meeting or special meeting date as determined by the commission members. Notice regarding public comments. Every member of the public who is recognized to speak shall address the chairman and in speaking avoid disrespect to commission, staff, or other members of the meeting. Please state your name and address when speaking for the record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. I'm looking for an adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion
So moved.
and a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? None. The agenda is adopted. For an adoption of the minutes as written. Can I get a motion?
On motion.
Second? Anyone? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
And the minutes have been adopted. Do we have any public comments? Okay. And no old business either. So we'll move on to new business, and I will recuse myself from this one. So hand this to you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Tonight before us, we have a request by Pierce Scott Architects on behalf of the owner, Billy Watterson, for a certificate of appropriateness application to allow the construction of a new 3,517 square foot two-story restaurant building, a 1,200 square foot restaurant carriage house structure. It's a bakery, not restaurant full, but it is that use, and a 120 square foot garden structure on the property identified as 1255 May River Road in the Bluffton Historic District, Zone Neighborhood General HD. The site is one that some of you have seen in the past. Others of you are new to the commission since this was before us. It is the structure located on the L-shaped or 7-shaped lot here. This is not an additional building to that lot. This is a replacement to the one that is currently approved, as they went through the process to engineer some of the things and change a few items on the interior. It came that they needed to change some things on the exterior as well. So those items were large enough that they could not be done through an amendment because they altered the character of the approval from the HPC. And so you have before you a new certificate of appropriateness, which is fairly similar but not quite similar to the application which was before you all previously. I have the first floor plans and second floor plans for you here. Of note on the floor plans, the area which was an open mezzanine here has been included in the square footage that has been addressed through the development plan amendment, which was at DRC today. I know in the staff report it said that it needed to be addressed. Those items, do you have one more thing to address with them, or were there comments? I believe the comments were all favorable. They may have had one administrative thing that they needed to carry through from DRC today, but there was no concern based on the meeting today. So the Development Review Committee has reviewed the development plan amendment for this site and has no issue there. So the parking has been accommodated for and the site planning. Here are the footprint and the first and second floor for the carriage house, and then the first floor for the garden structure, as it is only a one-story structure. And then the roof plan here. So the original design, which again, this is a new application, but it had the one dormer here and metal roofs, I believe, throughout the whole structure. It also had a roof structure at the back over the porch and no stair structure on the side here. So these are things that have been changed from the original, but again, new application, so the criteria are just as stated in the UDO. And then this is the carriage house and the garden structure here for the roof plans. and then the elevations. So this is the front elevation as you would see from May River Road. It is set back on the lot beyond the front build to. The UDO administrator has granted an exception to the front build to because of the large trees that are in the front of that property, as well as some drainage information that has that exists already and will be built upon, but not built upon because you're leaving it as drainage, but improved upon, there we go, in the side yard there. And then she took into consideration the placement of the building that was in this location previously, so it was already clear of trees primarily in this space. So it is back a little bit further from the road than we typically see, but that has been addressed already. And then this is the right side of the structure here on the bottom. This would be what faces towards the watershed building, or the Ginny Kitty Municipal Building, which is what functions as the Town of Bluffton's Watershed Management Office. This is the rear elevation, so this faces towards the dumpster and then the back property line and the structure, the residential behind, and the left elevation, which faces towards the interior of this site, which will face towards the Demarket and the Gullah Geechee Heritage Center, which is the Deer Tongue Warehouse. These are the elevations of the carriage house. So as it sits, it will be placed so that the garden structure sits between the primary structure and this accessory structure. This side will be what faces in towards the internal side of the, towards the Gullah Geechee Heritage Center and the Demarket. I can't, every time I try and pronounce it wrong, I'm going to get it before it's built, I promise. So internal to the site, this is the side that faces towards the primary structure, the side that faces towards the watershed building, and then this faces towards the back of the lot. And then this is the garden structure, which has the small opening for the metal door of, this is going to have like a freezer unit inside of it, but it has the corrugated metal siding on all four sides to match the service yard details. In the staff report, that was one of the items, is just identifying that this would be reused or recycled material, since metal siding is not something that's permitted as a building wall material unless it is one of those two items. These are the perspectives that they provided for us, just so we could get a little bit better feel for how that site looks. So this is if you were standing interior, but up on May River Road. This side would be if you were standing kind of in front of watershed management, looking towards the site, and then from the rear internally, and then from behind watershed building. I've included some of the details here. So this is the hood system that you see on the back of the structure here, and then the back of the carriage house structure here. This is not obviously there at this time, but an example of what they are looking for with their structure. And then the details for the service yard, the stairs, and the hood detail itself up here. The door details and window details. The window detail, the only one to draw your attention to specifically is this small F window here, which is a sliding window. That one was also identified in the staff report. Sliding windows aren't technically permitted by our ordinance. They are not permitted by our ordinance, technically or otherwise. However, it is up to you all. They've requested a deviation from the operation of the window. It is located on the structure, right, where's my mouse? Here. So there's one here and one here with a fixed window in the middle. So May River Road is up at the front here, and this is the side porch facing internal to the development, and so that's where they're requesting the deviation from that. And then the landscape plan is in two pieces here. So we've got the back portion of the lot. This is the parking area, or the shorter side of the L, and then this row of bushes here falls at the back of the bakery here, so they line up right there. and this is the continuation of. There is a fence that runs along the side property line. Joe asked me this question real quick about the buffering on the side. Because of the stormwater ditch that runs down the side of this, there can't be too much dense plantings that are installed on this side property line. That bold dark line or bold black line on the side of this portion of it is a retaining wall that actually is holding the side of that ditch so that it doesn't get encroached upon and so that it doesn't cave in the future, because it is an active stormwater ditch that exists on the side of the property there. And then the dumpster enclosure is located to the back here, which will be the internalmost corner of the lot from the property line. As this is a certificate of appropriateness, the HPC considers the 8 review criteria which are found in section 318.3 of our Unified Development Ordinance, and they can approve the application as submitted by the applicant, approve the application with conditions, or deny the application as submitted by the applicant. Staff went through the application and found that with the following conditions, I find that it could meet those criteria. However, it is up to you all to make a determination on those criteria. If you do not mind, Madam Chairman, I will go through my items real quick just so that they're there, and then we can open up the floor to the applicant to speak to the project if you'd like.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So the first one is the conditions of the development plan amendment be addressed. The development plan did go to the DRC. This item, as it is administrative and it is a requirement to have a development plan approval in place prior to the certificate of appropriateness approval, I would prefer, if you do feel that an approval with conditions could be made on this application, you leave that one on there just so that we can make sure administratively we have everything in the right order. If they had already addressed that one comment that there was on the development plan amendment, which it can be addressed, it just maybe is a scrivener's error on the plans if it needs to be updated, then it will not be an issue. They will have already taken care of that, and it won't impact this approval at all. But that way, just in case they do need to submit a revised set of plans for the engineering portion of it, we've got that covered. The second one is that all single-family, or all buildings except for single-family, require an expression line delineation between the first story and the second story. The accessory structure did not have one of those. I'll bring you back to that in just a second, because the next one is the column spacing on the carriage house is also off a little bit. I believe it's off by 6 inches on a few of those column spacing. I've got the actual numbers in your staff report, which you all received. So the column spacing that's off, it's measured on center here, and it, I believe, is 9.6. The distance is 9.6, the height is 9 foot. So it is close, but just not quite there on the column spacing on that. So either the side could be brought in, or the columns reconfigured a bit so there's a little more roof overhang or something like that to meet that requirement. The expression line would be expression line. I missed an X in that word a couple times today. Would be just on the carriage house structure here. The fourth item is that window F, which is a sliding window. It would need to be revised to a double hung, single hung casement, or I believe tilt window in order to meet the requirements of the ODO. If you all find that that is an appropriate substitution in this instance, you could allow for a deviation from that requirement should you see fit. Otherwise, that is the item that has been identified by staff as not meeting the ordinance to the T there. The fifth one is that any proposed signage would need to get a sign permit. That's something I put on every single commercial structure just to make sure that it's covered. And the last one is that there additional detail on the metal siding just to ensure that it is either reclaimed material from the site where they had removed it from the other buildings, or that it is a recycled material, because corrugated metal is not a permitted building material otherwise, and it would need to be changed to a permitted building material if it is not one of those. So those are the 6 items that I have. If you have any questions, I am happy to answer them, or we can ask the applicant to speak on behalf of the project if they have anything to add.
I have a couple questions. The F window, is there intent to serve out of those windows?
I will let the applicant speak to that when she
Okay.
is able to present.
And also on the front door, let's see, if you go to the window schedule, is the mutton pattern above the doors look square opposed to the vertical as the rest of the, yeah.
This one?
Mm-hmm. It could just be my eyes, but to me, they look like they're square versus vertical or rectangular.
I,
J as well. Is it just my eyes?
G is for sure.
G is correct.
It's 1/8 and it's 3. I can let them speak to that as well, if you don't mind.
Okay, because it just
I
looks
will
like the
say that-
transom glass muttons are square patterns versus the vertical.
Yes, our ordinance does, in theory, allow for square or vertical windows. Transoms are allowed over doors or windows, real doors or windows, not false doors or windows. So a square would be a permitted type, however, most of the openings are rectangular, so I can let them speak to that a little bit. Do you have other questions for me real quick, or?
Where's the dumpster again? It was really hard for me to figure out where on the property it's located.
Sorry, guys. So this is the overall site plan. This is Demarket. This is the Gullah Geechee Heritage Center, and this is the building that we're reviewing tonight with the carriage house right here, which are both being reviewed. This is May River Road down here. This is like, I can't ever say it right, Pomodori. I may have missed a syllable there.
Isn't that lot C?
Which that was the burrito place, is right here. So this is the street that's between those two buildings. The dumpster is right here.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? No? Okay. The
Like to
applicant?
have the applicant,
Yes.
ask the applicant.
You want me to drive the mouse or would you like to drive the mouse?
As long as I can remember the pages. Do the arrows work for the
The arrows
pages?
work as well.
All right. I think I'm probably pretty good then.
You can change your mind.
Hi, I'm Sarah Keppel, representing Pierce Scott Architects. And I can either go through the staff recommendations or take questions. I don't know what you prefer.
If you have some comments on the staff recommendations.
Okay. All right, so just to go through those, the first one was talking about, just addressing the development plan, and I believe the only comment on that, looking back at the report approved today, was the dumpster gates. There was concern about the structure of the dumpster gates. I think other than that, everything was fine with that. So number 2, talking about the delineation line at the accessory building. And the reason we didn't have that shown initially, let me go to that elevation. It's such a small 1.5 story structure that we felt like it would look too squatty or truncated if we added definitely at the floor system, some sort of a band. If you all do insist that we need to add one, what we would suggest is perhaps on the second floor windowsill, extend the windowsill around the building so that it's a thin line, but it would meet the requirements of the band board, but not truncate the building. Try to keep better proportions.
Okay, but that wouldn't delineate the first and second floor.
Well, it would hint that there is a second floor, but if we put the delineation line exactly on the first floor, it would make it feel, like the second floor would feel too heavy. Like if you look at this elevation, for instance, if we were to put the band board right here, it would make the second floor feel taller than the first floor because of the gable ridge. And we were just worried that, we just felt like it would be better proportions to extend the windowsill level as the band board.
If you look at the other side elevation, you could run that band board even with that porch. Because you've got that look right there. And that
Yes.
is exactly delineating the second floor.
Yes, but it wouldn't be the whole thickness of that. And if you see how that kind of wraps around where the front porch is, that the porch is a sloped open porch, open rafters. And so that wouldn't be relating to either where the porch dies into the building or the beam. It's a little hard that it wouldn't carry around the building. It would really only work in that one elevation facing the front primary building.
But then if you try to run the windowsill, that doesn't work as well because it would just run right above that porch roof. And it wouldn't have it at all.
Well, I measured, there was about 6 inches from the windowsill to the porch roof, which, majority of that would be flashing anyway.
Right.
So I think it would be a very clean connection to that windowsill.
But it wouldn't delineate I personally think it needs to have that band board, thin or small, saying first and second floor.
Okay. We could consider that. I don't, anyway, it was kind of a proportion thing. So, I don't know if anyone else has any other thoughts on the band, but that was our take on it.
I would agree that we'd like to see the band. I think that's kind of an important piece of the UDO, but would agree with you that at the sill height would be the appropriate spot for it. It would create a nice, base and top proportion, and probably the windowsill plus a little bit of apron underneath that, just to fill that gap between the roof would.
Sure. Yeah, to make it to
Purposeful
that porch roof.
and would reflect the architecture on the larger building in front of it. Does the same thing.
And we'd be happy to look at it both ways too. And if staff could, I don't know if this is something that could be approved at staff level, that we're agreeing to add the band. I don't know how that would work. But we definitely agree we can add the band. We're just trying to figure out what was the best proportion for the building.
That side faces, the side that they're talking about, which side does it face? Does it face the main structure or toward the dumpster?
So the side with the stairs and the gable end faces the primary structure.
Okay, so this faces, the one that they're asking for the band for faces the dumpster area toward the back.
Well, yeah, the one we are pointing to on the top left faces the dumpster.
Okay.
But the band would be continuous on all 4 sides, and all the windows on the second floor they're all identical. So that sill band would be continuous around the whole building there.
So basically, you are saying it's not impossible, you would just have to look at it a little closer to see where exactly you could put that.
Yeah, we'll definitely add it. We were just proposing at the sill
And as a
level.
condition, is that something that we would be able to, and that they would be able to work with staff? Or would that have to come back?
If you all are comfortable with staff reviewing that item, that is just fine. However, because the 2 opinions that I have heard currently are conflicting, I would like at least determination on where that band board should be, but actually getting it onto the plans is something that I feel comfortable reviewing at a staff level, should you all feel that's appropriate.
Okay.
But
I'm okay if you'd put it at the sill. It just does need some delineation.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I'm fine with if you put it at the sill.
so it's fine. Then
Okay, great. We'll make that addition.
And,
The
and
question with the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right.
My questions was with the
Sorry.
sliding window and then the columns. So the sliding, is that,
I just to stay in order so we don't lose track of anything, let me double check. And the next thing is the column spacing while we're at the carriage house real quick. So if you look at the floor plans of the carriage house, I believe the columns are measured center to center. And I think perhaps what you were looking at is the end columns are typically dimensioned to the edge of the column, and then the center, can I zoom in on that at all? No, that, not that way. Sorry, and it's not, I zoomed pages, there we go. But, so essentially, center to center on the side bays is 9'1". Center to center on the center bay is 9'2", and then from the porch finished floor to the bottom of the beam is 9'3". So it does meet that narrower than taller requirement.
and at what size columns are they?
I think they're 8-inch columns.
So the measurement for the column spacing is on center.
Only the middle 2. Oh, sorry.
Yes, so typically the way that you dimension columns in plan is to go from the edge of the porch to the center of that second column. So I can see how it might be perceived as that.
These are 9 here.
Well, that's to the window header, that dimension.
Is that,
Sorry,
I'm
that,
sorry.
there's a note on that dimension that says that's
That's
the window header. So
That's-
really, the best place to see that was the building section. And I
Okay.
double checked it right before I came, and the porch floor to the bottom of the beam is 9'3".
And actually, then in between the columns is 8'1", if you went from inside column to inside column.
Center to center.
Measure, I believe
Center,
the
okay.
town does center to center.
We do.
So I should have, knowing the town was reviewing it, I should have added that extra dimension on there just for clarity. I don't, it didn't
still the
dimension
window.
the beam because we've called out the top of beams.
But you've got a window height dimension there that is to the window head that's 9 feet, and then the porch will be sloping away, and the beam is a little bit taller than that, and so we'll get there.
Bad on this, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's to top of plate here.
Yeah, so I
And
should
that
have
may have been-
included that, but I can clarify that I can add a dimension and show staff, but the porch finish floor to the bottom side of the beam is 9'3".
Sorry about that, Sarah. I've got the wrong thing on here. But I must have read that as plate height instead of window height.
Yes, well, and it's right on that front elevation, so I can see that that's the dimension you were looking for there, and that's easy. So I'll clarify that in, I'll dimension the plan and the beam, but I think we're already where we need to be for that one. So that was number 3. Number 4 is the window F. So the sliding window that we are asking for, it was approved in the previous version, and we have not moved it, and it was located based on previous comments that we had received. So this is the view from the front, from May River Road, and so our intention was to locate the sliding windows as far back on the main structure as possible. It's also off of a porch that I believe is 15 feet deep. So it's a very filtered view. And we were hoping to get this approval because of the use of the building. This is a restaurant, and the owner was hoping to be able to serve takeout directly from the outside in the back, as opposed to having people come through the restaurant. And this was just a nice way to do that. So it does also face the interior of the lot. To the left of this building is the Gullah Cultural Center. The Gullah Cultural Center, and then further back is the market, and that's across from the bakery that you can see in this view. So that was kind of our defense of asking for it.
And it was already approved prior, is what you were stating?
It was.
Do we have that from prior? Is there to compare from what it came from to what it is now?
It is the same sliding window that was on a previous version that was approved. However, this is a new certificate of appropriateness.
Understood.
Yes.
Yes, so what changed on this front porch is essentially it used to be brick, and now it's wood, it's hardy.
Okay.
So we did not change any openings on any of the porch area right now.
Will that sliding window definitely be used solely for the purpose of serving food out of it?
Yes.
And that kind of window is the best thing to have for that purpose?
We looked at a few different versions, but we really liked the sliding one the best because it would self-close and be more efficient with the air conditioning and not overheating the kitchen unnecessarily and adding extra humidity. So it was going to be better for the heating and cooling equipment to have a window that self-closed, as opposed to a casement window or something that might be propped open during service. There's just a lot of hot air that would come into that kitchen, and we're just trying already to add a lot of mechanical equipment that's required to keep the kitchen at a certain level, so, of humidity and cool, so.
And that window on the other side is the kitchen, not a countertop on the inside?
Correct. It is the kitchen. Let's see. I can show you in the. Oh, see if I can figure that out. Do you right click? How do you do that?
You can click that right there, and it'll put you right back in that slideshow, so it's bigger. There you go.
Okay. So on the floor plan, yes. So the windows are here at the bottom left side. This whole space is the kitchen. And essentially, they have a setup where they have, countertop where they can pass out equipment or serve people and then pay further down. It's all literally just. Any questions on that? Or?
I would assume there's not a divided light option for the transom or picture parts of the.
There
window.
isn't. Yeah, this is just kind of a standard window that you buy because it would also have that air curtain that would be able to keep the air conditioning inside.
Is there a transom above it?
Is there I selected the transom version, I believe, of the window. Is there a side elevation of that? Yes, here we go. Yes, I did. The only options, I don't know how to zoom again, it's at the bottom left here is the window that you can see beyond the porch. So there's a sliding window package on the left and then a fixed window and a sliding window package on the right. So in this version, I already selected their window that had a transom in order to get at least the height to match an 8-foot door, which is adjacent to it.
Could you do transoms, the grid in just the transoms and the fixed glass and not the sliding?
Well, the whole piece comes as one unit, the 3 windows. Maybe showing you on the window schedule would clear that up. So if you look here at window F, that whole unit comes as one piece.
I was kind of thinking about whether it needs the divided lights or whether it needs like another transom over the top. I think another transom over the top feels busy to me, and I think it relates sort of to the storefront windows on the front, and
You think it needs
Fat Patty's has sliding windows, so it's kind of in the old Fat Patty's building now. Nectar has a storefront sliding window like this. I don't think I have any.
Felt a little
particular issues
contrived
with it.
to us when we did test different height options with that, and it felt a little contrived to try to get the hierarchy at the front of the building back there, but.
I think you've used that door as it's not a window. You've got 3 windows that are the same that are tall, and then the door steps it down, and then this relates to the door. So I think that helps how that all feel organized along there.
And in the space, just to let you know, so the front of the house has a little bit higher ceilings than the back because we're doing the drop ceiling in the kitchen. So those 3 windows with the transoms, we made the windows as high as we could in that front piece of the structure on all 3 sides, which is why we also have them, on this side that's facing the watershed building. We wanted this room to feel very, unified. And we had all those.
They're just all the way at the bottom if you wanted to fly through it if you need that.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just a lot of times we don't need the sections and it was slides in the way to be able to see the elevations. We're going past everything.
That would be helpful.
Slide, there you go.
Okay, just this one. So anyway, you can see that we really tried to just max out the windows in the front dining space. If there's a conclusion on that item, we could, that's actually the last item, so.
So it is the last item. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, but you had one more.
My
Okay.
staff report, yes. My staff report, I seem to have left 2 items off of the end list, but they are included in the middle portion of it.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
okay.
I'm not trying to blindside you.
That's all right.
The 2 items, the first one was the metal
Metal, I
material.
saw you review that one, yes.
Yeah, and then the other item is the roof appurtenances. So there's a good and a bad on the roof appurtenance. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
So the roof appurtenances, the hood system here. Oops. So what is currently proposed is a 2 hoods on the primary structure. I guess I want like this and the other one at the same time. So 2 hoods that are stacked on top of each other here, and hey, you can't see on the front. And on the front, you can see here
But
that
they're way in the back.
They're way on the back of the building, but they're stacked this direction. The challenge with this for building safety and for the fire, which is not part of the architecture yet, but will become a challenge with the architecture, and she's included this here. There is an exception to the rule that you have to have these very ugly guardrails, and it's that you have a clip. So, and I've put the code section in there, it's Z359.1, talks about anchorage connecting devices. So it's basically a hook that you can clip into with a harness so that you don't have to have these big fences, which is a really good thing. You still need the platform, but you don't need the fence. The platform is able to disappear a little bit better, especially if it is painted the same color as the roof, so that it can kind of disappear. However, the challenge with where the hood systems currently are is that in order to be that flat surface here, it will run into the little shed here and also have to be very large and step in order to get up to this second one here. And the final item, which is not, it is a real item, but it's a minimal item, is that there has to be a ladder that is affixed to the building permanently. It's not a removable ladder. Luckily, because this is the rear of the building and it is away from the street, the placement of it, we don't have any language that restricts adding a ladder to the side of a building, so it's not too much of a challenge with that, but it does need to be considered, as the placement of it will be something that we have to have on there. When I spoke to Richard in the past couple days, because sorry, I forgot about the ladder entirely, the hook system I did not forget about, but the other one I did, he gave options that potentially one could be installed right here on the back of the building, because as long as they can get from this, it's any building that's more than 16, or any roof that's higher than 16 feet. So it's going to have to be on both of these here. But placing the ladder either from the porch here or possibly increasing the depth of this landing on the top story here and having it go up, so they use the stairs and then the ladder, so it's a shorter ladder and it takes up less prominent location, or even just having the full ladder run down the side here would be an option. I don't know that there is any preference, but it will need to be shown on the plans where that is going to be placed and how those platforms are going to work. Staff's preference, because the roof penetrations are supposed to be not visible from the street, if at all possible, either stacking them sideways, so rotating them so that they're sitting next to each other and only one is visible from the street, so that they can have one flat platform rather than a stepped large platform, or something of the type. Staff's recommendation to the HPC is that you allow staff to work with them to get that resolved, and potentially, if you have a condition to place on it, it be that they use the hooks instead of the guardrails, so that it is less visible from the street and that it doesn't broach the peak ridge of the roof, so that it's not visible from the internal development, and hopefully will be less hidden. Hood systems are challenging. We've seen them on a lot of buildings. We are doing our very best to address them, but to ensure that the safety of the people who have to service them, it is something that we come across a lot. So sorry, I don't know how it missed the back page, but it is in my findings, just not in my staff recommendation summary, because I summarized it for you and I did it poorly this time, guys. I apologize. So I don't know if you have any big doubt on that, but.
Yeah, so I'm not completely surprised because we've talked about it in the past. The ladder I had not heard before. That's a new one. But the platform, we were, as you saw in the details, were prepared to design something, trying to work with mechanical, as she mentioned, to possibly stack them along the ridge so that the platform is flat. We definitely like that scenario better. So I think that we would definitely aim to do. We just need to work with the mechanical engineer to redesign a little bit there. And we also prefer the hooks. So I think that's fine. Yeah. So it's just the ladder is tricky, so I don't have an answer for that right now. The main building, I think I would definitely want it coming from the balcony. To me, that's already a mechanical balcony, a service area. And I just think it would be very awkward to come all the way from the ground, to get all the way up there. So I would hope from the mechanical balcony would be a good place to locate that ladder along the back of the building. The carriage house, I do not have a good answer for that at the moment. So.
Have you had any consideration to putting the kitchen exhaust fans on the gable end of the building rather than
Out of the
through roof?
sidewall?
Yeah, I know you're working with like a
Um,
10-foot clearance to the doors and the windows.
Correct,
but
yeah, between
that-
doors and windows and each other. Those two vents, like, yeah, there's positioning on the main building, like, in a certain location. So I can work with, I know one has to go on the roof, but possibly one could go out of the sidewall, but we would have to eliminate, the door and the window, and it would be a much more simple facade, if we were to do that, and more of a hassle to get to that mechanical deck. So, I don't know, we could work some with the engineer, but looking around, most of them do just come out of the roof, out of the gable roofs in the kitchens downtown.
That's true,
I
but
didn't notice until this project, until I had to study how's everybody else doing it, and they're all there, and we just, I don't know, we just don't notice them on a daily basis. Literally, the restaurant next door, you can see it popping up over the ridge. It's on the back half of the roof, of the gable roof that runs parallel with the street, but you can see the hood popping up right behind it.
The UDO has been amended specifically.
I'm just saying, we're doing our best to hide it and put it in the back right corner, but it's a fact of life with a restaurant and a business, so I'm trying to merge all those.
the platform images that you show are all platforms running parallel to the roof slope or perpendicular to the roof slope.
Correct.
Your exhaust fans are in a different configuration than this because they're stacked.
Yeah, so that's what
Is there
we were.
opportunity to get those side by side?
Yeah, that's what I said. I would prefer them side by side after that was suggested and after we had to research the platforms. So I just have to work with the mechanical engineer and make sure that he can also rearrange, the hoods. But yes, we like that look a lot better too.
Based on my alarmingly vast study of hood systems in the last 4 months of my life, the international code for the building code, it's the mechanical code specifically, the output, which is the one that looks kind of like
Triangle.
a pentagon,
That.
5 sides, but it's not really. That one has to be 5 feet away from any other surface of the building or the other hood. It has to be 10 feet away unless it's being directed the venting is being directed away from the other hood. So it could be 5 feet apart. Based on your floor plans,
Our mechanical engineer said 10 feet apart.
unless it is directed away from the other one because of the exception in ANSI section 306.5, alarmingly.
All right, I'd have to ask the
Yes,
mechanical
you can
engineer
take a
because
look
we've
at that.
pushed back a lot on these units already, as you can imagine, because we were shocked at the size of them. And he has them angled away, and he insists they need to be 10 feet apart, but I can bring that up with him and ask
Our
him.
code, or our building official will be happy to speak to it as well.
Okay, all right.
That can-
But yeah,
if we-
no,
if we get to that.
we agree, because then that would create a shorter platform. But, I don't know, so,
Yeah.
I'll,
It would be nice to do what we can to minimize that platform. And, would you be open to painting that a dark color to blend with whatever asphalt?
with the roof
Yeah.
finish, definitely, yeah, we'll paint
that
it
would
the
help.
same as the roof finish.
And potentially matching the flashing coming out. I know you can't necessarily paint those exhaust fans, but you can control the color of the flashing coming out of the penetration in the curb.
At the curb, yeah.
The sidewall might be a solution you would consider at the carriage house structure. If that window is fixed, it would let you potentially move that onto that side elevation. And I think, I don't know how you guys feel, I think I would support that if it reduced the need for all of that armature on the side of the building there and the roof.
It sounds good. The mechanical engineer did not like putting it on the gable end.
On the gable.
I was
Well, I mean, you'll
trying-
have separation issues if that double hung window remains operable, but if it was a
I
fixed
feel like he had
glass
an
piece,
issue with the roof overhang too.
you
I
have
can
to
ask him
project
about
3
that.
feet off the building, but those
Okay, so it would have to come
those
out a
gravity
lot.
hoods
So it
are
would have to come off the building 3 feet
The
if
gravity
it came
hoods
off
are-
the side.
like half of that at least.
So I just know on the main building, we kept trying to get him to put one on the side. And he just kept coming up with smaller elements that would fit on the roof versus what the side thing would look like.
So it did work.
Somewhat. Yeah, mechanical's a challenge. I can ask him if the bakery can come out the side. Would you all be okay if that top window disappeared then? That was just a,
Would you consider,
Architectural
I mean, I think that window is nice to break up that side. Would you consider making that like a direct set?
yeah,
I think once it's not a operable piece of glass, I think you are covered.
okay. Yeah, I don't know enough about it. I just know when we've suggested it in the past, there have been lots of challenges, and I believe the overhang was one of them, but I think you're right. Like, it would just have to come off the building pretty far. But that would be desirable versus, I don't know. It's kind of a
what do you guys-
toss-up at that point.
But you have to have one no matter what.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So if you got to have one, putting two is not going to be that big a deal. Other than making the.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the larger structure, it's up in the tree line and it's in the back, and they'll work to minimize it. The smaller structure, if there was the opportunity to not need the platform because you could get to a sidewall, I guess, I'm just trying to say, I don't know, I support that. I don't know what you guys think, but it would, if they could finagle it to get it to not need the platform, that would, I think, be my preference, even if
Yeah.
it's on that side elevation that faces the parking lot.
I think, my opinion is I'd rather see it coming out the top and have that big thing on the side next to the window.
Okay.
That's just,
Just to remind you of big picture, I zoom back to the site plan. So the hood we're talking about is right here at the bakery. And the one we're talking about at the primary building is right here. So it's definitely like in the site, very filtered, hidden by the gable side. You know, you won't, like,
Put an
insular
inquiry.
to the site, and on the left, you won't really know what's happening. So anyway, I know the elevations and the perspectives are very stark when there's no landscape in there. So I just wanted to throw that back in.
Do those platforms make anything that like covers them? Like, do they offer any product that makes it less noticeable?
I don't think mechanical people are really
What?
concerned with that.
if it's the roof color,
Just paint.
Essentially all.
Like a, grass, like fake grass or gilly, like something that looks like a tree or something like that. They make cell phone towers that look like trees now, so.
Yeah,
Figure you
no,
can-
I have not. I mean, it's a good idea, but other than paints, nobody's suggesting anything, mainly because we have to keep the airflow up there too.
They will not have to have the handrails on it, which will reduce it.
Yeah.
So when you look at it in profile, which is what you'll see from May River Road, I'm leaning towards the microphone, so hopefully it picks me up. But when you're looking at it from May River Road, you'll only see an L essentially with probably a cross bracket. So it should, in theory, be minimal enough. It'll look almost like a handrail that you're.
Not as bulky as the picture you.
Yeah, because the picture that you're seeing is, so all of that.
So essentially, you'll have the platform and what's below it.
and the platform would be painted the roof color.
Correct. The platform and all the structure can be painted our roof color. And also the curbs, these square boxes that occur under the vents, can also be painted the roof color. We cannot paint the roof vents themselves.
Yep.
And if we propose the hook system where somebody can tie into the roof and secure with a harness, we can eliminate these handrail pieces that you see that are pretty high. But
And that makes sense. I mean, I think I was trying to think, what could you do architecturally here that is something that is a platform, but it's part of the architecture, and I think that like a dark bronze platform like this is probably the most minimal thing you could put up there without the handrails.
Any more comments, questions?
Anybody else bothered by the square muttons? Or is it just me?
It's just me.
Okay. Move on.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but can you pull up the schedule just so we can see the window lights next to the.
yeah, I was also trying to show you within the composition of that elevation. We, as you can imagine, we were pretty thoughtful, tried to be thoughtful about, the window grids that we were showing. And when I did experiment with a what is that, 5, a 6th window across. It felt very cluttered, and it was too narrow. I felt like it was a lot narrower than, like, for instance, this double hung above it. And what I liked about it was the way that this transom at the double hung lines up with the grids below, and the nice tall, it's a 2/6 transom. It's a really nice proportion transom. I felt like these got pretty square. And so I felt like these related more to this transom than when I added that 6th window across.
The window below is quite square.
So that was kind of the thought process behind that.
If it helps, Carrie, this is a square window that it's over, so at least it relates to this window
Yeah.
and this one.
It just jumped out at me that they were rectangular and not this way, not this way.
Sure.
Remember, that's one that jumps out at me too, and it did not.
And that is our default. We definitely prefer more rectilinear. It's just this particular scenario, if I could show you the front elevation here. So if you look at this composition with the 3 elements, like it felt a lot busier when we needed to add the 6 moles across the top, or the 6 windows across the top.
What if
instead
you
of
remove the middle
5.
piece and just leave them really long?
Well, let's see, if we look at the perspective,
I mean,
thinking about the room itself and not just the flat elevation, I felt like when you turn the corner here,
Yeah,
which
that looks
also
nice.
happens on the
Yep.
right, I just felt like they related a bit closer
yeah, that looks nice.
to each other. Yeah, and remembering those 3 elements are, I feel like the 3 pieces are a nice tall proportion. It's just, yes, when you get down to that window grid, it did get a little square, but I think this bullet is maybe relates pretty well to each other.
I think it would really take making that whole picture window smaller to address your concern, and then
Right.
it wouldn't match the door.
It's
So,
it's not like a deal breaker. It's just something that popped out at me.
good question.
I have an unrelated window question.
Uh-huh.
So what you're calling the garden structure, that's a walk-in cooler?
Yes.
And it seems to be kind of like front and center, like between the buildings, you're gonna walk by it. And usually like those size gigantic coolers have big vents that blow air on. And the vents, would that blow toward the sidewalk or toward the back?
Well, this particular unit has the mechanical on the top of it. So our gable is disguising the air. So the ends of the gable, let's see.
There might be one more down.
Yeah, I can't quite.
There you go.
Here we go. All right, so these ends of the gable
This
roof,
one in the upper left-hand corner, that's if I'm standing on the sidewalk between the buildings, that's what I'm seeing, right?
yes, yes.
Okay.
But it vents out of like the gabled underneath?
Yes, the triangle of the gable is where the venting would occur for the
Vent would
mechanical
come
sitting on
toward where
top.
people are walking by, like,
Well, it will be on both, no, let me show you in plan here real quick. All right, so if you picture the bottom of this page is where people are walking.
yes.
And the gable runs long ways, so it's really coming out the right and the left of that structure.
Okay.
And the entrance to the walk-in cooler is facing the bakery or the restaurant?
The entrance in this view is on the top of the page.
Which is towards the water.
Towards the,
Okay.
yeah, the drop-off zone.
So, I'm assuming like coolers are like for meats, like why is it attached to the bakery and not the main structure? Is there a practical reason for that?
Well, we didn't really see it as actually attached. If you look at the hole, which I guess I'd love to zoom in right here. Oh, okay.
Is there another walk-in cooler in the restaurant?
There
inside?
is not. It is the restaurant's walk-in cooler. The bakery doesn't have one. Maybe. All right. So if you look here in the back. Sorry. It was more about site layout.
There you go.
Then I know it appears really close to the bakery, but the bakery's service door is just off the page up here to the top of the page. And their pedestrian door and customer door is here on the left. So the back kitchen door has this porch and then a paved area to have deliveries come close to the back door of the kitchen. And so this outdoor cooler is really more in the service zone of the kitchen for the main building than the bakery zone that's kind of really further up on the site.
Okay. It just seemed odd to me that it would be so right toward the front of the building and not in the back of the building. But if I was just curious what the purpose for that was.
Part of that was we do have that utility ditch that we're dealing with on the right side of the property. And there currently is a very big drop off right there that we are installing a retaining wall in order to stabilize that and to protect that. So it just kind of worked out a little better to not have something right up on that retaining wall.
Okay. So if somebody's walking by from building to building, the vents are not going to be blowing on people, it'll be on the sides?
Correct.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, and as you can see in this view too, I mean, there's a lot of landscaping happening right here, and the sidewalk is out here, so it will be filtered too. It's not like you're right next to it. That's probably another 15 feet from the sidewalk to the first edge of the cooler, I would estimate.
Thanks.
12 to 15.
While we're looking at that porch, that rear porch has the mop sink on it.
Yes.
And I didn't really see any other kind of significant janitorial storage in the building.
Well,
I guess my concern is that porch should have a little bit more screening from the properties on the right and maybe on that left side from the sidewalk, given that it may end up with additional storage out there. Just kind of seems like the kind of place that collects that kind of stuff as a restaurant runs.
yeah, we kind of viewed that whole corner as the service side of the restaurant. I mean, we have our main service yard. Let me go back to, let me think here. Yeah, this view would be fine. All right, so our main service yard is right here. We also have our egress stairs coming down, which run to almost screen the side of that porch and come down to the service kind of paved area. I do have screens on, as you're looking at this sheet, on the left-hand side of this porch, kind of a trellis that we were going to work with landscape to run, vines and things like that to filter from the public on our site. But, I mean, I guess we could add it over here, but I do feel that the stairs go pretty far to screen that right here.
Yeah, and this is all right here, screens it from the front.
Yeah, in this view, you're right. You can see that other trellis that I was proposing on the other side.
Okay. If you guys are comfortable with that, I thought
That's
it
a
was
good-
worth
I didn't even see it, yeah.
discussing at least here, so. And that fence along the property lines is a 42-inch fence, live fence, on top of that wall.
Correct. Yes, I'm hinting at the wall, but I'm not showing the fence on top of that. Just kind of landscapes.
There's jasmine growing up the trellis on the other side, correct?
Yes, I think so. It's a vine. I don't know if it's
Okay.
jasmine. It's something that landscape is calling out on the other side.
It's all jasmine to me. So.
Yeah. It may be. That grows very quickly and very thick. Okay, any other questions?
I had two smaller comments. One, the door in the center of the porch on the right, or no, I guess the left side of that main building is just off of being centered on the window above it. Is that something that can get aligned? Everything else is in the center of this.
And I know we love looking at elevations, but in reality, we're going to be seeing it from a different view. Let's see. Well, here you don't actually see it at all because of the screen. I guess the part of what determined where the door was the kitchen equipment and the hood. And I can show you in floor
Are you
plan.
talking about the left elevation or the rear?
The left
Right
elevation, that
here.
door.
Well,
Oh, you're not talking about the rear?
Yeah, side elevation.
side elevation.
Is the elevation on this page?
That's at the bottom, the one at the bottom,
The bottom one.
the door in the center,
Oh.
and the dormer above it.
See, it's
Let me
centered
check the
between,
plan, but I think that could be aligned. As was mentioned previously, the dormers were in a different pattern when we had brick
Okay, well,
as the exterior.
Drive there and that's too.
Might be close.
If there's some
I
room
could
to
try.
make that jam smaller and just try to get them.
I could try. I
closely
think
aligned.
it looks like it's about 8 inches off right now. Yeah, I could try.
well, right now, it does look like it's centered on the columns.
One of those things.
No,
is-
the dormer
Usually
probably
go
relates to
away,
the
yeah.
columns, because that's more of a, I like to think about the columns are out in front, and the
Right.
dormer is gonna be more visible in relationship to the columns than anything that's on that back wall. I can look at aligning it, but it does look like that kitchen wall kind of starts there.
Well, can you adjust the window upstairs just a little bit? Scoot them both?
Well, there's a pretty repetitive pattern going on at the very top. It's all equal spacing. So if that 1/3 from the left moves, I'd have to restudy that.
I think
It would be easier to move the door.
if there was
in
an
that
opportunity
case.
to make that jam on the left smaller, just
Okay.
even if they don't quite get there.
Yeah, if they're
a
closer.
little bit more, it would be nice.
No, that's fine. And I know from a drawing standpoint, we're used to looking at elevations, but in reality, we don't generally stand straight in front of the building either. So
Good catch.
it may not be as obvious as it is in that elevation, but I'll try to scoot it over.
And then, could you run us through the gutters and downspouts on the front porch?
Mm-hmm.
They're not modeled, but I saw them in the roof plan.
Yes. I think they are modeled, actually. But
Or the,
mainly because that's how I get them in the roof plan. But the roof plan's a much easier place to look at them. So you mean the front structure?
yes, yeah, just around
All
that
right.
porch and where the downspouts.
So right now, I have a continuous gutter running along the low roof of the porch. And that's mainly because where you're stepping off the porch, we do try to provide gutter systems. And then we've also included a gutter along the back side, or as you're looking at the front of the building, it's the right side towards the watershed building. And that's mainly because we're just trying to control the water on that side. We're going to have equipment in the service yard. We have pedestrians exiting at the second egress on the top left. And we just don't want huge, waterfalls coming down uncontrolled before we got to that gutter. I mean, to the canal, or what word am I looking for? Ditch.
So at the porch, are you using rain chain downspouts, or are there going to be downspouts coming back to those columns?
I had intended to do regular enclosed downspouts, but I didn't model the downspouts, but I had intended them to be standard. But I didn't have a super strong opinion, other than I think it contains the water a little better and less splashing onto the columns. But
I think that's fine. I just didn't know if you'd thought out how many or where at all.
I have not. I hadn't done that. So no, all I had modeled was really the gutters, not the downspouts. So I didn't really work that out.
I'd be curious to know where those downspouts will be too, and
Okay. Can add that. Is that okay if that's something staff reviews, or was there any preference, I guess, or?
Downspouts, they need to match the gutters. Round, because you're using a half round, correct?
Yes, half round gutter.
Yeah, so a half round would be a round downspout. But we could work.
For the location, I guess, was there any specific
I mean, I would imagine
intent
you're.
for bringing it up to, like, is there
Just
something you want me to
because
steer
I mean,
towards?
it's a architectural thing that
Okay.
ends up being sort of prominent.
Okay.
I feel like you sort of end up with only being able to do it on the corners on the front, and then maybe in the middle and on the back corner. So I guess because of the ramps and the stairs and things, you're not going to have too many of them.
Yes, I could, with that ramp, that's interrupting it a little bit. I was thinking I could possibly take it through the ramp and under it if I needed to.
I see where you have the sill, the band board running on the sill in the main building. That will look nice.
Okay, good, good. I'm happy. Yeah, I think that, see how, yeah, this is a perfect example of that. See how the proportion of that feels a little taller. Than having that lower. Okay. But yeah, I can show the downspouts, and is that something staff can review then? Is that okay?
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so are we ready for
Let me pull it up and see if I
a
understand
motion?
what the thoughts are here. Sorry, if you want-
Yeah. Done?
Oh, maybe, but yes.
All right.
Probably. That way I can at least see if I understood what we've got or we've discussed so far to make sure it's really big. So my understanding of the discussion is that that would be there. To be reviewed by staff at the base sill of the second story window. Is that what I understood? And then the column spacing be revised or noted on plans to show they are spaced no further apart than they are tall. Window F is proposed as a sliding. Was that something that was being allowed to deviate, or is that my understanding?
There's two of them, right?
Yes. But it's one fixed window, one, so there are two windows, but they are together they're in the same location. It's not like on two separate elevations.
Right.
Determination that the type F window is appropriate due to the use and placement in inside station to the site with that would stand, this would stand, and then the last one, to align the door on the left elevation or get as close as possible to work with staff on final placement. And to work with staff on the hood system placement to remain on the rear elevation in the gable or on the back portion of the roof with the platform
And hook
minimized.
system?
Huh?
With the platform and hook system?
With the platform minimized using a hook system
And paint.
and painted to match the roof with flashing / curbing to match the roof as well. Did I summarize all of the, and the downspouts to be shown? And to have the ladder to minimize ladder length where possible. Did I capture everything that was discussed? Do we have anything else that we're concerned about or discussion?
I think that's it.
If I have captured everything to make your life easier, if you would like to make a motion that sounded something along the lines, approved per staff recommendations as shown on the screen 1 through 9, that would be acceptable and would meet the requirements of a defensible motion. if you'd like to use that as a thing. And you don't have to read every single one if you don't want to. Feel free to. It is up to y'all.
Who would like to make the motion?
I'll make the motion to approve per staff recommendations 1 through 9 as listed on the screen.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay? None? Pass.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
I am going to hit save on this to. Thank you all. I will follow up with you all on that. Welcome back, Mr. Chairman. The next item we have is a certificate of appropriateness. It is a request by Ansley Manuel on behalf of the owner, Sarah Harwell Kelly, for review of certificate of appropriateness for the demolition, the removal in whole of the existing 800 square foot single-family residence and the 120 square foot shed located at 77 Bridge Street, which is here in the historic district, and it is zoned neighborhood conservation HD. This is a non-contributing structure. There you go. This is a non-contributing structure which was built by the current owner in the 80s and is being requested for demolition. The shed was placed, I want to say, 2016-ish, and so it is also a non-historic, non-contributing structure. The existing conditions are as shown here. So this is the primary structure. You can see that it is mostly a rectangular structure. It does have a small bump out to the rear here, which steps back. The siding is T111 siding, so that's not something that is actually permitted by our ordinance currently. And then this is the shed. So you can see this is the side that is visible from the street. My pictures are, sorry, I screenshotted them from the attachments, and it still has attachment written across the front there. But this faces in towards the property, away from the property. This is from the neighboring property, and this faces the street there. So this one is more of the primary structure. I have identified all of the criteria. There are 8 review criteria in section 318.3 which are applicable to this. However, as a non-contributing structure, some of the criteria are not actually applicable to the structure. And I've gone through all of those in your staff report. I am happy to address any questions that you have or go through any of those criteria more specifically, but staff has found that it does meet those conditions and recommends that you all take action as you see appropriate with respect to this application. With demolition applications, staff typically does not provide a specific recommendation, but rather says that it is up to you to make sure that you determine that it does meet those criteria. I did reach out to all 4 of the Historic Preservation Commissions. I did not receive word back from a Call to Action or the Bluffton Black History Historical Preservation Society, but I did receive it back from the Bluffton BHPS, which is now HBF, Historic Bluffton Foundation, and from the Palmetto Bluff Conservancy. Neither one of them had any comment or anything to add to the request. Both recommended approval of the application. While their information is only that information, it is something that we do reach out to them to make sure that if they have anything that they know that we don't know, it has been identified. So that is what I have for you tonight. The applicant is here to speak on behalf of the project. The applicant and the owners are here tonight. If you'd like to open up the floor to them for process points, you're welcome to, or if you have any questions for them.
Does the applicant wish to speak to the project at all? Okay. Are there any questions or comments from any of the commissioners? Then this one should be pretty quickly. Can we get a motion?
I'll motion to approve the request to demolish the structures.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect.
Okay. Passed unanimously.
The next item that we have on our agenda tonight is 477 Bridge Street. This is a location you have never seen before, just kidding. This is a request again by Ansley on behalf of the owners for a new construction on the same lot. If that demolition had been denied, this application could not be heard because it would not meet any of the requirements because there's already building on the site. So the order of this agenda is intentional. That is our lesson for tonight anyways. So the request is for a new construction. It is a one-story, single-family residential structure of approximately 1,710 square feet and a new carriage house of approximately 705 square feet to be located at 77 Bridge Street. It's also still in the Neighborhood Conservation HD zoning district. This is the proposed site plan. So you have Bridge Street at the top of the screen here. You have the park that is the oaks over here. And then there's an easement that accesses towards this site back here, which is it's owned by Guccio here, but it was one that was seen before this same commission about a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago. So they're proposing to keep the driveway in its current location. It is currently a circle drive, so you can see the apron here, which will just turn into a small sidewalk leading up to the front porch of this primary structure. There's a porch to the rear here, and then this is a essentially service area that has a roof over it. So it's some exterior storage that is on the side there. This is a porch for the carriage house, and it will be used as a dwelling space. So this is the floor plan. Ansley does her hand-drawn plans, and they're beautiful. So you guys rarely get to see them because she usually sends them off to CAD, but tonight they're before us. So thank you, Ansley. They're pretty. The window schedule is on the bottom right here, so I did include that. Primary structure, Bridge Street would be on this elevation here. This is that small lean-to shed that's part of the primary structure here. And then the elevations. So this is going to be, Bridge Street runs here. So this is your front porch, and this is what you'll be seeing as you come from Town Hall towards Oyster Factory Park. You'll come across this side of the building, and then the rear elevation is what will be obviously at the rear. The right elevation is what will face kind of towards that open space, which has the oaks in it now. And then the screen porch, you can see that there. And then this is the front elevation, which will face Bridge Street. For the carriage house, it is a small, simple structure here. It has a small little porch. And it is rectangular in nature for the most part. The materials match the primary. She did provide us with all of her details. So there's a corner window, wall sections. She does have her hardy and her soffit, double checked all of these, and her detail at the foundation showing that that hog paneling will be set behind the plane so that we've got that. Thank you. And then the landscape plan here. The one item that I have identified as something that needs to be addressed is that a tree removal permit is required, as there are some trees that need to be removed. They are shown as little X's here, but it's not totally clear what the size of those are on this. They are going to be taken care of through the tree removal permit process. So the mitigation that would need to be associated with that, should there be any, would need to be part of that tree removal permit. But they have a pretty, oops, I went the wrong way, guys. A pretty covered lot. You can see there's a big cluster of trees in this area here, and this is approximately where the primary structure is sitting. Obviously, this one's a little bit bigger than the existing structure, but the removal of trees on that half of the lot is pretty minimal. So it's just these trees back here. And we have had Jordan already take a look at it. So Jordan Holloway is who reviews the tree removal permits, and he's taken a look at it to make sure they're doing the most to save the most, doing the most to minimize removal. This is a certificate of appropriateness, and so the HPC reviews the criteria found in Section 318.3 of our Unified Development Ordinance and has the authority to approve the application as submitted by the applicant, approve the application with conditions, or deny the application as submitted by the applicant should they find those criteria are not met. Staff found, with the exception of the tree removal permit needing to be pulled, it does meet those criteria. I am happy to answer any questions that you have. The applicant and the owners are both still here. They didn't get tired of me talking, so if you have questions for them, they are also here.
All right, would the applicant like to say anything about this project?
Do I have anything?
Would you like to speak
Anything
on
to
behalf
add?
of the project?
I would just say that.
Come up to the microphone if you do.
The layout of the building was such that Sarah and Kelly could be, and the living part of their house and have a buffer from Bridge Street. That's why I loaded the guest bedroom and the little office utility area up there. And then the beautiful oak trees off to Oak Grove Park. We took advantage of that view with the screen porch. And then the guest house goes in the other corner, so everybody's afforded a little bit of privacy.
Good. Anybody have any questions for the applicants? Any questions? Any discussion?
It's a nice little cottage. It's a very, very Bluffton structure with some really nice details. So
Yeah.
it's a
And
nice
the square
project.
windows are around the whole thing, so it all matches.
Yeah, I think it looks great.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, then I'm looking for a motion.
I motion to approve as submitted,
With the,
With the s-
with the staff recommendation about the tree removal permit.
All right, can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and any abstaining? All right, the vote is approved unanimously.
Next time, bring this first.
Submittal order. I put them in submittal order.
Great request, Ms. Ansley. Great
Yeah.
request.
That's fair. All right. The last item is a quick one. It's just, oh, no, we have a couple. We have the HPC meeting dates because November was canceled on us.
Thank you guys.
So the next item is to approve the meeting dates for next year. We have not changed anything, except the January 1st meeting will be held 1 week later in 2025, since it would be on New Year's Day. That way we push it so that you can have New Year's Day and not have to be here.
Thank you.
We are closed.
Okay.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve? Hear a motion?
I'll motion to approve the meeting dates as shown.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay.
The next item is the HPRC, the Historic Preservation Review Committee. Because it is a derivative of this commission, you all vote to approve their meeting dates as well. We're proposing to keep them on every Monday from 4 to whenever it's over, but hopefully not any later than 5 p.m. every Monday, as long as they're agenda items. That's all I got.
Discussion? Can I hear a motion?
No,
Okay.
be my guest.
I'll motion to approve the HPRC meeting dates as shown.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion is approved unanimously.
Perfect. And then the last item is just the discussion item, which is all of the site features that were approved in this month. If you have any questions on them, I'm happy to answer them. Basically, there was an ADA ramp so that somebody could get from her hospital into her home. That was on Bruin Road. There were a couple enclosures around things, whether it's for trash cans or water heaters, and then some signs. There was the installation of a commercial hood at the rear of the building, which is the Scotts Market building. It's in the back left corner. It is away from the street. It is not something that had to come before you because it will not be visible, and if it is visible, it'll be this much visible in an approved location. So that's what I got. Questions? Good deal. No vote on that one.
Okay. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.